Yes, increasingly now, especially now. As I said, there is unprecedented interest in what I do now. I'm doing webinars with major companies about dream decoding. I'm talking to media outlets about the spiritual approach. And it's like they're suddenly discovering me for the first time. And I have been out here for 20 years. My books have done phenomenally well, so I have my readership. But there's always been this cynicism from the authorities, from media groups. You know, they put me in the joke category. And now I'm getting
respect,
expert opinion, being asked to tutor people as businesses. I've been asked to tutor them about dream decoding and the importance of intuition. And I'm talking about how many leading companies, I can't say them at the moment, but when I was working with the neuroscientist, I found out you would not believe how many household names hire professional intuitives, people who are, it was a whole new world to me, a whole secret world of people who are using their psychic powers, for want of a better word, to tune into the future and spot future trends. I could not believe it. I was given privileged access to all that when I wrote the Premonition Code. Unbelievable. And that book is still...
Why do you think this change has occurred, like surfaced?
Crisis. In times of crisis, people look at, well, the old way hasn't worked. The authorities haven't worked. Religion, for most people, sadly, religion, as I said, I have nothing against religion if it harms no one. I have a lot against religion if it harms people. In times of crisis, people want answers and they want guidance. They're not getting it from schools anymore because schools don't tend to offer self-help and, you know, that kind of advice. They're not getting it from religion because for the great majority of people, religion is no longer the way where they go. Although I have nothing against religion if it harms no one. And that's the key. If religion works for you and makes you a better person and a kinder person, I love it. But if it harms anyone and you try and force your beliefs onto me, big no-no for me. So people are looking online now for help. For people like me, I mean, my Facebook page is now over 200K. It's getting to 200K. And this has just happened because people are looking for someone to offer a kind of a framework that doesn't attack other people, that is inclusive and universal. And I feel incredibly blessed that I am getting people asking me for expert opinion right now. And it is because of times of crisis. People always look for ancient wisdom. They go right back to divination. Astrology is having a huge surge right now, all over Europe. And I've actually been asked to reissue a book I wrote in 2005. I've been very busy with that recently. It was called The Encyclopedia of Birthdays, where I looked at the astrological influences on every day of the year. That was a HarperCollins encyclopedia. And I have been asked to update it to speak to today. That comes out in November. I was asked to reissue my dream encyclopedia, bearing in mind that people are dreaming about social media now. Because basically people look at ancient wisdom in times of crisis. And it always happens. The world is in crisis at the moment. There's no denying. Confusion, crisis, and a them and us mentality. And my message has always been, from all the research I've done into spirituality, near-death experiences, angel encounters, afterlife, the spiritual approach is universal. We are all connected. We are all one in spirit. Anyone who has had a near-death encounter and gone to the other side will not talk in terms of color, race, status, wealth. It's that oneness in spirit, that we are all one. And nature shows us that too. There are many colors in nature. We are all one. And in times of crisis, that's what people turn to, because spirituality is in our DNA. They call it the God gene. We all have it.
Yes. More or less on the surface, I guess.
Yes.
Yes. Accessible.
Sorry if I talk too much. It's
no, you don't. I love it when it all flows naturally. Tell us about the nun thing.
The nun, well, I grew up in a family of psychics and spiritualists. And as I said, I didn't feel I had psychic abilities. But what I decided to do was learn about them. And also, I wanted to find my path. I mean, children are like that. You want to find somewhere where you belong. And the Christian community felt like a place that welcomed me. I mean, there's positives about it. And I felt like I belonged. And before I went to Cambridge, I very much believed in the Christian message of do unto others as you would be done unto, the beauty of that, turn the other cheek, all this, the spiritual, the compassion. And I believed it so much that I decided that was where I wanted to devote my life. So I spent time contemplating that, considering my options. And it was a beautiful time of peace and tranquility, and I learned a lot from the nuns I was with.
Where were you?
I just in a local, where I lived in Sussex at the time, a local retreat, considering my options. And I learned there, what I learned there is that happiness can never be found outside yourself. That's what the nuns taught me. Powerful spiritual message. Happiness can never be found in how you look, how much you earn. It's found in who you are, your spirit. However, after 4 weeks, I realized this just wasn't for me. I still was hungry to make my mark in the material world. And then I went to Cambridge. And then I realized that Christianity is beautiful. So is Buddhism. So is Hinduism. So is Islam. So is every religion. I realized that they all were saying the same thing in different ways. So how could I then go into one category? I realized then that they were, but then I began to realize that yes, they all are paths to the same goal. They're all paths to heaven. But I don't need to particularly follow one path. There's a path that includes them all, which I call universal spirituality. And that's where I wanted to be. It felt very limiting for me personally, although if it works for other people, to just confine myself to one. And I then devoted myself to the spiritual approach. And I believe we are spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience. So that's my motto, as it were.
Wonderful. I will write that down because that's one of my questions to you. What's your life motto, right?
Well, I have many. They change daily. One is to stop talking so much. I say, but no, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. That inspires me, and that helps you through the tough times because you can see the bigger picture. I think when we get dragged down, when people aren't nice to us or we get rejected or things don't work, it's because we're putting our hopes and our dreams in that external material aspect of life, which is important. And I believe we need to learn how to handle it. I believe we are here to learn practical, and there's great joy to be found in the material. I'm not anti that at all. But however, the problems start when you're define your happiness. Your happiness is defined by your relationship, by the way you look, by the money you earn, by the job you have, by the political party you belong to. When your happiness is determined and your meaning is determined by that, it's a problem. That's the spiritual perspective.
Thank you. So I'm going to go on here to just cover the list. How would you describe yourself? I mean, you talk a lot and you have a lot of knowledge and you have a lot of interest, I think. How would you describe yourself, your personality? What do you like?
Oh, infuriating, I would think. I'm very, very driven. I like to be doing. I feel like I want to make every day count. I'm very curious. I love to learn. And I actually think the definition of a spiritual life, yes, love and compassion comes into it, but I think spiritual people learn. They're open-minded. They're forever, ever learning. And that's why I love to talk to skeptics and people don't. I love learning. So I would say curiosity and energy. I feel that this life is so exciting. There's so much to learn. And I try and impart that in my books. Don't waste a second. Because I'm getting older now and I'm suddenly realizing time's limited. And I look at young people who are just lounging about, sometimes chill. And I think, come on, there's so much to do, so much to learn. You know, just seize the moment. That's how I feel. That's how I would define myself, is seize the moment. And don't put yourself in I try to always go out of my comfort zone. My interview with Russell Brand, way out of my comfort zone. I was terrified. And actually, my son was there at the time and he said, "Mum, they're never going to air that. That was terrible." I was so out of my comfort zone. I was like a rabbit caught in the headlights. I had never done something so high profile with someone so famous. But I did it because I wanted to get the message out there. And every time now I fear something, or something makes me feel uncomfortable, I see that as an opportunity to learn and grow. I don't fear failure anymore. In fact, failure, you learn so much more from that than success. So I tell my readers, my message is fail and fail again and fail again and fail again. Because every time you fail, you learn. And when you're learning, you're living a life of meaning and purpose. Because we are here to learn, I think. I think the danger is when you say, I know.
Yeah. And acknowledge all small failures. You don't have to fail so big every time. To learn, you can just fail small. And it's not that big of a problem.
It doesn't matter, because most people actually are concerned about what they're doing. We all worry what other people think. Most people are concerned about what they're doing. They're not judging. Most people really aren't like that. Just worry about what you're doing. As I say, the person you should compete with is the person you were yesterday. That's all.
Yes.
Stop comparing yourself to other people, and there's nothing wrong with failure. Walt Disney was fired for lack of imagination. You know, Edison with his first job, they fired. There's a wonderful one with Jeff Bezos actually about how before he started Amazon, all the spectacular failures he had along the way, and how he's laughing about them, and how even now Amazon, there's so many things they do that fail, but he has this culture of you just try. It's the spaghetti against the wall technique. See what sticks.
Exactly. So, but I also heard that you're highly sensitive.
Yes, I have written a book called The Sensitivity Code, which is for people like me who their instinct is to want to help and be compassionate and kind and see connection. I think there are a lot of people like that. But unfortunately, the people who see difference and who are narcissistic and materialistic, they at the moment have got the upper hand in this world. But that's why the world's the state it is. So my sensitivity code was to try and empower people who are like that, because I've struggled with this in my life, and that you feel that you're a failure because you don't want to be in conflict. You don't want to always put yourself first. You want to actually to see other people. I love animals. It's because it's nature. She wants to be a part of it. But people like that, they often feel that they're weak or they're flawed. And what I wanted to show is if your instinct is to be like that, is to be caring, it's not a weakness, it's not a flaw, it's a strength. It is what has evolved humanity, because communities that care for each other, they survive more than people who are like, you know, all in it for themselves. So believe in it as a strength, because we are actually seeing that now, because in the UK, we have the health workers are being applauded every week. And these people health workers are people who are empathetic and compassionate. Now, a few years ago, they were not applauded and recognized as the strengths. The key workers now, the drivers, the health workers, they are the power that's going to pull us through this health crisis, not the celebrities and the narcissists. Nobody wants to hear from them anymore. It's wonderful. So I'm saying this is a moment for sensitive and caring people who actually don't want to. It's not all about appearance. It's about being a better person, who want to be kind, whose instinct is to help the vulnerable. It's time for you now to recognize this as the strength that it is. It's not a flaw, it's a strength. And there are people who are born to be kind. Well, as I say, the first person to like you has to be you, right? So don't worry about what other people think if you show the real self. First of all, what do you think of you? Work on that, because I'm telling you, it's like magic. Once you start liking you and admiring what there is to admire about you. And there is always things to admire about people, however flawed they may be. Once you start thinking, well, I did something good yesterday, or I held that door open for someone. You can start that small. That was a good thing to do. I like myself for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where progress starts.
Yeah.
Keep doing good, kind things every day until you actually think, hey, I'm not bad. I'm quite a nice person.
Exactly.
When that happens, it's magic. Other people respond.